War never changes.
War never changes. I had no idea the iconic kind of nature of that line or that speech and what it meant to the game or to the players of this game.
You look out at this wasteland, looks like chaos.
I just thought that Geneva and Graham had written one of the best, line couplets that I had ever read.
War never changes.
Turns out they get no credit for it, zero. Hey everybody, my name is Walton Goggins.
My name's Moten.
Hi, I'm Purnell.
I'm Geneva Robertson-Dworet, and I'm one of the showrunners and creators of Fallout.
I'm Graham Wagner. I'm also one of the showrunners and creators of Fallout.
I play Lucy in Fallout.
I play Maximus.
And I play Cooper Howard and the Ghoul in Fallout. And this is Variety's Making a Scene.
I had two reactions when I read the final script. The first one was, oh my God, how am I going to pull this off? And the second one is just my jaw hitting the floor because they didn't tell me what was going to happen.
It is essentially all these characters sort of realizing the most horrifying thing that they possibly could. We wanted it essentially to feel like one scene or one revelation that was multifaceted.
When I read the finale for the very first time, I was taken with what Cooper Howard hears his wife say.
How can you guarantee results?
By dropping the bomb ourselves.
I felt so much empathy for him. It was a loss of innocence that mirrors Lucy McLean's experience, Ella Purnell, because of what she hears her father say or what Moldaver says about her father.
He never told you where he's really from, when he's from.
That feeling of what happens when everything you've ever believed, everything you ever thought you were, right? Your entire identity, that's stripped away from you. Who do you become? That happens so many times. Lucy is irreversibly changed. This is permanent. There's no longer like she's keeping a part of her vault dweller attitude and a part of the wasteland. No, she is a different person altogether.
We were trying to discover in the moment what Maximus does with the obliteration of optimism. I don't know how else to describe it. It almost feels like this is going to now be the biggest defining blow that's going to turn him into the man that we will continue to see develop throughout the course of this series. So where that drives him into this new status with the Brotherhood is going to be interesting to watch.
Lucy, let's go. Come on. Wait. We gotta get out of here.
No, not with him.
Why not with him? What do you mean?
It was him.
Crassly, we call them whoppers, in a show. And we were like, well, how's our whopper placement doing? And we realized we had what we called a whopper pileup in the finale. And we talked briefly about spreading the gravy a little thinner, as you spread gravy, of course. At some point, there was a sort of a moment where we're like, fuck it, it's Whopper City. And we just sort of piled everything, crammed everything to the end. And the hope was to take all of these big moments for Lucy, for Coop, and for Norm, and stack them up just almost on top of each other and have it all happen as one super Whopper, as Burger King has paid me to call it. And it's easy to miss in the episode 1, but as Cooper Howard is riding away with his daughter on a horse, you can see the Griffith Observatory there in the shot. So it was sort of wanting to come back to the beginning of the show.
I want to say, what, about 5 days that we were there?
Four?
Yeah,
I believe that was 4 days. It was, the entire production was a water slide that I feel like I kind of blacked out. And came out and like, we shot the show.
We always reference Sergio Leone and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly as sort of a major inspiration for what we wanted to do with Fallout. It's the whole reason there's 3 parallel character stories playing out at once and so on. So that kind of incredibly intentionally over-the-top shooting style that Leone used was something that we wanted to build our way towards. We felt like maybe if we leaned into it too hard in the pilot, it would have been alienating or bizarre or made the show feel like too campy. But by the end, when Lucy has experienced so many horrifying revelations, it feels like we're ready to be that close to her face.
Please, open the doors.
The whole show is governed by a sense of what's fun, and here's this heavy moment, the heaviest moment in the entire show, and playing it conventionally might not have worked as well, as opposed to just leaning in and being like, hey, this is melodrama now. We're having the fun version, the elevated version of this heavy moment versus, doing it mumblecore. Kyle had to basically reveal the other side of Hank and have sort of create a brand new character, essentially. The Hank who had lived for so long and led this double life, and that was an amazing thing to see, and it's something that he did so effortlessly. And then he would do Popeye voices between takes.
You see what this place does to people? I'm your father, Lucy. You came all this way for me.
You're already in a weird space because I know I have to do this incredibly emotional scene, so I'm trying to keep myself in a sad space. I'm listening to sad music, scrolling through pictures of my ex-boyfriend, trying to be in that very depressed place all the time. And then you walk onto this beautiful set that is built up. It's the observatory. You've got a ghoul in prosthetics, Kyle in a human-sized cage, giving this very, very, very emotional, incredible performance. My sad playlist, I've had the same one since I was like 19, and I just keep adding to it, basically. It's like 4 hours long, so I'll just listen to it throughout the entire day. One that really helped me on this day was when the world caved in.
One of the frustrations, I feel like, of actually working on a show like this with such brilliant collaborators like Howard Cummings is he's constantly layering the set with these incredible details that you just don't have time to fully focus on. So actually, there was one of the lovely details about that cage was that it had a sign on it that said that it was like a specific species of macaw from the Griffith Zoo.
We did always know we wanted to come back to the Griffith Observatory, partly because we wanted to blow up our neighborhood, where we are the part of LA we live in, and we were very excited to do that.
That set is one of my favorites, especially in the volume. Howard built the most practical set he could for the interior of the dome of, the observatory. And it just felt like the best playground you can imagine as an actor.
Fallout is a tactile experience. Out of the gate, that's how Jonah wanted to photograph it. He wanted the actors to kind of feel that way, and he wanted the audience to feel that way. I was surprised, to be quite honest with you. I read this script for the first time and thought, I wonder if the screen is going to be green or blue or yellow or what. I had no idea that it was going to be that kind of three-dimensional. It was the last day that I got made up as the ghoul. We got to set, there it was, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I couldn't believe the set that Howard had built. And it all felt so surreal to me because it was a volume stage, right? And so the background were these images that seemed so real. We're standing in this space. It's my last day playing the ghoul for this season. Walton is feeling extremely emotional about the experience.
It's very sad because you're going to say goodbye to all your friends, and everyone's kind of very excited because you've romanticized the entire grueling 8-month shoot, and now you're going to say goodbye to everyone. And so there's a lot of emotions, and I really just wanted to do this scene just because it's for me, it was the most important scene in the entire show.
The fact that the camera can get so close to Ella and her performance still holds is beautiful, that you feel you're even more intimately with this character rather than feeling like, oh, now I'm watching someone act, is really a testament to Ella Purnell's incredible acting chops. We're constantly moving until that moment where everyone just gathers around and the truth comes out, and we didn't feel like those emotional revelations would have played as well if our characters were on the move. It also gives us an incredible view of the city for when cold fusion is plugged in and Maximus gets to see the lights go on and sort of the stakes of what this thing is that everyone has been fighting over this entire season.
We really wanted to show so many different sides of Maximus in this first season, and I think a part of it is to give us all a sense of this can go anywhere. Just the experience of shooting this whole thing on film is a first for me in my life. But it makes you want to work really economically. You know that you've got 7 or 8 minutes on the roll. Every time action is called, you're like, I have to do it. Like, let's get it now. We got the right flare on the lens, you know, we got the right feeling of the shot, and then walking out of it, and I ran up to Graham to try and see, like, is this working? He just was like, I think we got it. That was really great.
Lucy, you're coming with me.
The moment that Maximus gains the knowledge that he needs to, I mean, we hear him say earlier, I want to hurt the people who hurt me, you know, he finally even has a face to that idea that he's lived with his whole life and what he's hoped to accomplish with the Brotherhood, living in that harsh reality for him. I found it so tragic to finally get the knowledge, to finally feel like, of course, Maximus is going to run headstrong into it, but you know, to finally come to face that reality that you've imagined for so long, and within 6 seconds of it, be knocked out cold. You wake up from being unconscious and you just expect the person to be there, and then sort of realize, is she alive? Did she just leave me? Everyone is gone. All the solutions that you think that you're coming to grasp are all gone. I always found him very upset with himself in that moment. He takes things on himself very heavily. When you only have yourself to rely on in the wasteland, truly, I think you take things really hard.
The final shot of Maximus, as people are hailing him as a knight and he gets what he wants. Aaron Moten is a guy who can do soliloquies with his expressional journeys. We're not the kind of show to release deleted scenes, but the various iterations of how Maximus processed this moment that he's in, of getting what he wants, but it isn't what he wants anymore, is amazing.
Be careful what you wish for was always something we talked about as something we wanted the show to deal with. Like Lucy's on this mission to find her dad, and then she finds out the worst possible things. And with Aaron and Maximus, that he really wants this suit and thinks it'll be his palace, but it turns out to be his prison. And that the Brotherhood, he's about to be knighted after the show ends, obviously, is where we end up, and he knows that that's going to be a prison for him.
I love being there. It also, for me, I only got to work with Walton, whether I was playing with the suit or I was on set just watching on an off day. Those are the only times I otherwise got to work with Walton. So I even made sure to make some nice jokes to him as like we finally get a scene together and I'm passed out, you know. But he's, you know, and of course he was like, well, you better stay down there.
I wonder if they fix that in this new model.
We were anxious, honestly, about Walton entering the scene so late, right? In the present day storyline as the ghoul. We worried, would it feel too late? But Walton was so brilliant at making the Coop and ghoul character feel totally continuous that the fact that you're seeing the Coop and seeing his revelations in the pre-war world earlier in the episode, before the ghoul strides in very late in the episode into the present day storyline, he's the one who I think through his performance made that work and made it feel like one continuous character.
I had no idea that this was going to be the end reveal of my character or anyone else's for that matter. Even for the ghouls, you know, I had no idea. I mean, I had an idea of kind of where it might be heading, but it wasn't until right before they published this draft that, you know, it fully kind of landed for me.
Now, I've waited over 200 years to ask somebody one question. Where's my fucking family?
I've waited over 200 years to ask this one question. Where is my fucking family? I mean, that's a lot, right? There's a lot to kind of put into that.
If you got Walton Goggins, you got to write one-liners, you got to write soliloquies, you got a hot rod, you got to do some donuts.
Yes, he can pull off truly anything. So we're incredibly grateful.
Any actor that I look up to and respect probably approaches it like the same way. It's not a line, right? It can never be a line. You have to believe that.
The line, "Where's my fucking family?" was the line we were just like, at some point in the show, because we played him very secretively, you know, a guy who keeps his cards close to his chest, and then that was a line where, essentially a card, "Where's my fucking family?"
Yeah.
As we broke the season, like, where does it go? And of course, finale, why not?
If they are these one-liners, I definitely don't set out to do that. What I try to do is just make them real to the person that I'm playing. You know, like war never changes. I had no idea the iconic kind of nature of that line or that speech and what it meant to the game or to the players of this game.
War never changes.
I just thought that Geneva and Graham had written one of the best line couplets that I had ever read, and they really got it. And turns out they get no credit for it. Zero.
He's a guy who's like, "I'm going to the laundromat." You'd be like, "Boom, yeah." You know, like, that's an amazing line. Walton is like, "No, I'm just going to the laundromat."
You want another autograph, young Henry? Feo fuerte y famo.
Anytime we could just sort of harken back to the Western.
Yes.
We just took the opportunity. And the Spurs, sure, he's been wearing those Spurs that whole time. This guy has been on sort of one track for 200 years.
Yeah.
He's wearing the same clothes.
A lot of those, those decisions came from our brilliant costume designer, Amy Westcott, who I think really brilliantly, it could have been incredibly cheesy, right? That he's still wearing his movie star costume 200 years later. It's like, what? He didn't take it off? Like, this is ludicrous. But she aged it so beautifully that I think it's subtle enough that it feels like it's mostly existing at the level of metaphor about, is he still this heroic version of a cowboy? The makeup was a work of collaboration between Vincent Van Dyke and Jake Garber, two absolutely brilliant special effects makeup artists. We looked at many iterations with them of the ghoul, and some of them were closer to sort of the most pushed ghouls in the game, who are very disfigured, but what a waste of Walton Goggins. And we wouldn't then be able to see his emotion as clearly. So the most important thing, of course, to us was the eyes.
The ghoul is almost performative in a way that is, you have to find humor in such a bleak world, right? Every single day, people are just walking without really a destination, trying to stay alive. And for the ghoul, he takes pleasure in taking his time talking to people. I mean, what else is he gonna do? Looking back at how the ghoul's relationship with Lucy changed over time, that was one of the most fulfilling parts of this process for me, that it was so antagonistic and so brutal, without malice, to end in a place that isn't sentimental. I think it is a person that has seen the loss of innocence in another person and deeply empathizes with it because he himself went through a similar experience 200 years earlier and is still reeling from the loss of that innocence, right? That his tone changes. And when he says, are you coming? You coming? I just think that's a pretty cool way to go out.
Okey dokey.
That okey dokey was the hardest thing about the entire scene. I can't tell you how many times I must have said that line.
It was always okey dokey.
Me, Geneva, and Graham, and Wayne were all working towards the same goal, and we couldn't figure out how to get there because there were so many different emotions in that moment. You know, usually it's easy to layer emotions, but in this moment, because they were all, you're pulling from so many non-relatable things. What would you do if you found out that your father, your hero, is evil and bombed your kind of boyfriend's family, and city, and your mum's a ghoul, but your dad kind of caused your mum to be a ghoul. You know what I mean? There's just so many different things, and it's not easy to layer them all. I can't shoot my dad. I can't do it. And so there's a level of self-hatred and frustration and anger. And then you add on to that Maximus is passed out, and I'm not strong enough to take him with me. If I stay here, the Brotherhood will kill me. There's fear, there's pounding on the doors. There's so many different emotions. And so do you do okey dokey broken? Do you do it strong? Do you do it like a badass? And I was going to Geneva and Graham, help me, what do I do? Give me a note, help me. Well, how do I make it better? And they were kind of looking at me like, it's good, calm down. And I think actually I was having to fake a lot of the eye lines because of the camera angles. And so I couldn't actually see Walton for the majority of when we filmed our little exchange.
It's all how you say it. And throughout the season, Ella says it at least 3 very meaningful ways.
Yes.
4, up to 4, yeah. Very different ways. It means something different every time.
Lucy's character transformation is the thing that excited me the most about this role. I wanted to break her. I wanted to destroy her and then see what we get on the other side. And you know, when I signed up for this, I'd only read the pilot, but I also knew from speaking to Jonah, Geneva, and Graham that they had big plans. I didn't know what they were, but I knew they were big.
She's still trying to be that person who has a sense of optimism about everything they're stepping into and a sense of bravery and just being down. I always just love Lucy's down.
Lucy killing her mother is the confirmation of the thing that we both know. And he's looking at me like he knows, but he's not going to say, I told you so, because he knows that that's painful. And there's a part of Lucy that I'd say actually most of Lucy hates herself for what she's turned into, hates him for what he's turned her into, but she doesn't have a choice. She can't stay here. You know, when he says, do you want to go meet your makers?
Or you could come meet your makers.
Lucy is never going to say no to that. She has to. At this point, she has to. And so it's an okey dokey. It's not a broken okey dokey. It's like an acceptance of what's happened to her. It's an effort. There's nothing else for me to do except for put one foot in front of the other.
My echo, my shadow, and me.
We knew there were very exciting elements and elements we wanted to tackle in the second season. To be honest, the death claw is an element we were troubled by not finding the right space for it in season 1, and we very deliberately wanted to box ourselves in. Sometimes as writers, you do that. You set yourself a challenge, and you just say like, well, now we got it.
I think that like we talked so much about the death clause being so central to the games. We always wanted to introduce it in a way where we could do it proper justice, and I feel like we were very careful to try to construct a first season that would appeal to gamers and non-gamers alike. So we didn't want to throw too much in.
There are, mysteries from season 1. There are things that seem benign, but may carry weight in season 2, and things that are worth dedicating like an episode to, that seem outside of the overall trajectory of this experience. I like taking side trips, and just kind of exploring something that was mentioned in passing and making a thing out of it. And I know Graham and Geneva and Jonah are down for that too. So we'll see what happens.
Regardless of what it is that Maximus is after, he's almost starved for it. There's a desperation in which he sort of goes about trying to get it. So I don't see that stopping for him in season 2. I feel like he's going to find a way to be going after what he wants.
Many of our lead characters are Vegas bound, and Las Vegas in the world of Fallout is Robert House's town. Robert House
might have something to do with it.
Will be involved in season 2.
The first thing I learned from season 1 is just always stretch before your stunts. You might not want to. You might think, I don't have to do that, but you should, because it hurts otherwise. And number 2, don't try to guess the outcome. Don't try to guess what is going to happen, or if people are going to like that line or laugh at that line or find your character likable or not. Just be present and do it and enjoy it. That's where the fun is the surprise.
Can I just say one thing? I think Cooper Howard is cool as shit. I think he's so cool. And I think the ghoul is cool as shit. And I can't believe that I get to play two people that are that cool over the course of 200 years. That's pretty amazing.